I just finished prototyping out a Unity merge tool that uses AI to analyze conflicts to help you make decisions. And I did this in 5 days using the GitHub Copilot CLI and SDK. Let me show you how it works. All right, so before we jump in, let's talk a little bit about the problem that I was trying to solve. Here is what a Unity merge conflict actually looks like in a YAML scene file. Now imagine trying to parse through all of this structure, figure out what's changed, and understand how that impacts the project. It's a nightmare, and most teams will avoid this altogether and have one person redo the work. I started off using the Copilot CLI to build a CLI tool that analyzes the merge conflict and then just presents it in a more friendly way. But while I was trying to validate that the diffs were displaying correctly, I realized that this just was not enough information. I needed the AI to explain more deeply what was going on the file level, not just show me the diff, but help me understand the context around it. I ended up building that initial CLI tool in less than a day, which is great, but merge conflicts can get pretty complex, and I kind of also wanted to see if I could create a VS Code extension. So let's switch over to that. I ended up creating 2 views within the VS Code plugin. The first is the project dashboard, or the merge dashboard, I think I also called it, which is showing you more of a holistic view across file boundaries for the conflict. And within this view, you can also trigger the AI analysis through the SDK that is looking at a merge summary. It's giving you file relationships. So it's kind of flagging things to be aware of, that if you change one file a certain way, you might cause a break in another way. Then from here, you can drill into the file analysis. And this is more what we just saw in that CLI view, where it's showing us all of the objects that were changed, anything that was auto-resolved by Git, anything that the AI auto-resolved, because I did give it permission to do a few things. And then it also surfaces up anything that you need to take care of. So in this case, again, it's the player instance, or that prefab instance where that local position was shifting. And so from here, there's 2 types of analysis that you can do within the AI. The first analysis is on the file view, which is taking the context of everything that's changed within this file and then analyzing anything that you need to be aware of. It summarizes it, gives impacts. It's also looking for relationships. And then the other one is the conflict level analysis, which is taking that specific property and just kind of paying more attention to what is happening within that property, explaining what the point of the property is, because sometimes within Unity that's not really clear, and then talking about what it's seeing from an impact standpoint between the base, theirs, and mine, as well as providing a recommendation. And I've noticed the recommendation fluctuates in this specific example between theirs and mine, though it's more consistently been theirs. Then the last thing that I added was the ability to actually have a conversation with the AI. So being able to query around things like, hey, look at both of those commit messages. What are the incoming changes trying to do? Or we already have the property analysis, but maybe there's another property within the raw YAML file that you're interested in learning about, things along those lines. Now, ultimately, the way this project was created was pretty complex, but I still want to walk through key parts of the SDK. So we're going to hop over to the GitHub repo and look through parts of the code and how you can get started that way. And one thing that I really like about the SDK is that it supports multiple languages. And you can see here there are snippets for JavaScript, Python, .NET, and more. Now within the GitHub repo, there's a nice getting started doc, as well as a cookbook section that provides code snippets for different things that you might want to do. But what I want to focus on today is getting a session started, which is a core concept in the SDK. Now you can think of a session as opening a chat window with the AI. It's going to maintain the context for the conversation. And then when you create a session, you can send up 3 really important things: a prompt, custom agents, and skills. Now, custom agents are specialists. You're basically telling AI, you are an expert in X. Now, in my tool, I created different custom agents for different types of analysis. Here's an example of a very simple addressables expert agent. I also have a scene expert, a prefab expert, and then a generic Unity expert, which is a fallback in case I couldn't find a specialized one. Custom agents can call on skills when needed. And skills are like deeper, more specialized granular reference materials that the agent can access when it needs that deeper information. So what that does is by breaking that out into skills, you're actually lowering the context footprint of your conversation, which helps that LLM keep the knowledge of your conversation for longer because nothing falls off the back, as it were. Now, I have skills for a lot of different Unity systems. They can go deeper on addressables, scenes, prefabs, colliders, transforms. So for example, my scene agent can pull in the transform skill if the player's local position is in conflict state so that it understands the implications. So the last thing that I'm going to leave you with is that you can also query the SDK for available models. Actually have this hooked up into the settings file for the tool so the user can switch between which LLM is doing the analysis. This is done through the list models async method. All right, so that was a really quick rundown of the prototype and the GitHub Copilot SDK. Thanks for watching.